Tennessee has hired a national championship winning strength and conditioning coach, and Josh Heupel has gone all in.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into it, Locked On Vols, and I am your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day, the number one sports podcasting network available. We got a lot to get into here today. Tennessee has hired Derek Owings as strength coach from Indiana, that Indiana team that just won a national championship a couple of days ago. Why this means Josh Heupel is all in for his coaching tenure here on Rocky Top. That's coming up here in a matter of moments. Josh Ward stops in to chat about that and so much more in segment number 2. And a couple minutes in the show, Vols in the way too early top 25 polls for next year. It's never too early to look at those. All that and more coming up here on a Wednesday Locked On Vols. Everydayers could not do the show without you. Join the Everydayer Club today, just $5 a month, and you get access to an audio-free or an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Vols, compatible with pretty much every podcast platform. An invite to the members-only Locked On Vols group chat. Been in there the last couple of days, looking to chat with some new members in there, and exclusive access to national shows like Locked On Sports Today and so much more exclusive gear as well. Go check out the Everydayer Club at lockedonvols.supercast.com and join the Everydayer Club. All right, so Tennessee has hired Indiana strength and conditioning coach Derek Owings. Owings is the 2025 Strength and Conditioning National Coach of the Year, and he, of course, is fresh off his tenure with Indiana. Indiana beat Miami the other night for the College Football Playoff National Championship, and it became official early Tuesday morning. Austin Price, VolQuest.com, reported about 6:30 on Tuesday morning that Tennessee was hiring Derek Owings, and he was going to be the strength conditioning coach for the Volunteers. And he was on a plane, and I think he arrived in Knoxville around lunchtime yesterday and met with the team, and is assembling his staff and getting to work. Remember, classes starts today, I think. Maybe it was yesterday. I think it's today. And so the spring semester in terms of the strength and conditioning program and all that's going to get going here this week. So it was important always to have the guy in place and the guy ready to roll by the time the students got back, by the time the players got back, and that was a mission accomplished. It sounds like this deal was done in the days leading into Tuesday. Obviously, if you're Owens, you wanted to stay on with Indiana and finish what you started. And you know, the strength and conditioning coach is such a big part of your program. And not only just in the weight room, or out on the practice field when you're running suicides or whatever, like things that we think of for a strength and conditioning coach. I mean, these guys are very, very present and have a major role on game days as well, leading the warm-ups, leading the stretches, and, you know, playing a big part into like what can go on in terms of the sideline during a game as well. So wanted to finish what he started, helping Indiana win a national championship earlier this week against Miami, and now he is back, or he is on Rocky Top. I say he was back. I was going to say he's back with Josh Heupel. Those two guys spent a season together at UCF in 2018 when Heupel, that was his first year as the head coach, and Owens was an assistant strength and conditioning coach. And he brings a really, really impressive resume to Knoxville, okay? He, of course, is coming off a 2-year run with Indiana, all right, where he was the director of athletic performance, and I think that's the director of football sports performance is his official title here at Tennessee, but that's the same thing. He was at James Madison for a couple of years as the director of strength and conditioning, and of course that means 6 years with Kurt Signetti. And he was at Texas Tech from 2019 to 2020 as the director of strength and conditioning. He was at UCF for that 1 year that I mentioned as an assistant strength and conditioning coach. And he began his coaching tenure at Utah State as a GA from 2016 to 2018. He graduated from Mercer, okay, with a bachelor's in sports management. He got a master's in physical and sport education from Utah State. And, of course, that's where he started his tenure there at Utah State, his coaching tenure. Also played football, played wide receiver, a little bit of tight end, started at Eastern Michigan, and finished at Mercer, of course. And so he's got an experience in the game. And when he was with Heupel, his positions that he was coaching were the wide receivers, the running backs, and the defensive backs. Those were his position groups in terms of who he was working out and, kind of watching over. And Josh Heupel obviously was very present for that because he was with the quarterbacks who were throwing to wide receivers, who were going up against defensive backs, who were handing the football off to running backs. So it feels like those two guys kind of got to know each other a little bit back in 2018. Josh Heupel on the hiring of Derek Owings. Quote, physical and mental toughness is paramount in everything we do year-round as a program. No one understands this better at a championship level than Derek. He will elevate our strength and conditioning program with a relentless mindset and forge strong relationships with our players. He has a proven track record of utilizing modern training methods to maximize speed and strength while specializing in injury prevention. He also understands what it takes to build an elite nutrition program to ensure our players are set up for on-field success and durability. We are thrilled to welcome Derek and his wife, Riley, to Rocky Top, end quote. Here is Derek Owings' quote on joining Tennessee's staff. Tennessee is one of the most iconic brands in college football. I'm thankful to Coach Heupel for believing in me, and I can't wait to serve this program, this staff, and most importantly, these players on Rocky Top, end quote. Again, that's quotes from Tennessee's new director of football sports performance, a.k.a. strength and conditioning coach, Derek Owings. Oh, man. So this is a big get. And not only is this a big get for Tennessee because he's a very good coach, but he has now become the highest paid strength coach in college football history. Tennessee is paying Owings $1.2 million annually. It's a 3-year contract. To put things into perspective, Kurt Schmidt made $475,000 last year. That was Tennessee's outgoing strength and conditioning coach. It's a pivotal year for Josh Heupel. Strength and conditioning coaches spend so much time with your roster. Again, it's not just in the weight room. It's not just in the indoor facility. It's not just on the outdoor facility running and conditioning and all that and training. It's in the meeting room sometimes. It's on the road. It's they run the workouts, not the workouts, but the warm-ups before every game, before every practice. I mean, these guys are so vital and a huge part in what you do. I've seen it firsthand, being close with Tennessee baseball the last couple of years with Quentin Eberhard. I mean, he was such a massive role in that program. And that's why the hire of Cain Knowles is so impactful, because those two guys worked together in Chicago, and Q basically handpicked his replacement. So these are not just your normal support staff hires. These are big-time moves. And Tennessee went from paying a strength and conditioning coach $475,000 to $1.2 million to become the highest-paid strength coach in the history of college football. So this is a massive move. Josh Heupel knows it is a pivotal year coming up, okay? And you had to make some difficult choices. Kurt Schmidt had been with him since at UCF. He was with Owings there as well in 2018. I mean, he was with him since UCF and came to Tennessee, and there's a lot of familiarity there as well. And Josh Heupel had to make the difficult choice to not renew his contract. Josh Heupel fired defensive coordinator Tim Banks. Josh Heupel let go of longtime assistants dating back to UCF as well, and Willie Martinez and some other good assistants like Coach Chop, who was great on the recruiting trail, and some of these other coaches as well. Coach E.T., the corner coach. And you had to make some moves. And Josh Heupel did that. Tennessee made a massive investment in Jim Knowles. Tennessee made a massive investment in Anthony Poindexter to come coach the secondary. Tennessee made the biggest investment to date in terms of a strength and conditioning coach by hiring Derek Owings from Indiana, the 2025 National Strength and Conditioning Coach of the Year. So Tennessee, Josh Heupel's going all in. And it's interesting, and again, a lot of people say, but it's such a pivotal year, and you're doing all this, but you're going to roll in there and have faith in the two young guys on your roster right now, and George MacIntyre and Faizon Brandon to go quarterback this team? Well, you brought him here for a reason. And of course, you add Ryan Staub to come in and compete with them, but let's make no mistakes about it. The financial backing is there for a Faizon and a GMAC. That's where your investment is. Those two guys are easily the more talented two quarterbacks in the room. They're just young. They have no experience. So this is a conversation, obviously, for the rest of the offseason, but Tennessee brings back a lot on offense, and you hope Tennessee improves significantly on defense this portal cycle. Tennessee made a massive upgrade in terms of investment in a new strength and conditioning program. Josh Heupel's made some moves. Will it work out? Will it be enough? We'll see. But Josh Heupel has made significant moves and significant changes to this program this offseason, knowing how important the 2026 season is, not only for Tennessee football, but for him specifically as well. So hat tip to that. Did your job. We'll see what happens. And, of course, there's a lot more things to discuss, but that's a big one. Tennessee hiring Indiana strength coach Derek Owings to come over here and do the same thing for Tennessee and make $1.2 million in the process. All right, when we come back, Josh Ward's going to check in. We'll talk a little bit about Tennessee's new hire, what Tennessee's been doing in the transfer portal cycle, all that and more. That's coming up next. We continue on here. It is your Wednesday morning Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. The college football playoff just wrapped up. FanDuel gave us all access and even more ways to get in on all that action with that profit boost. And they've got so many different things to look at as well throughout the college basketball season, the baseball season coming up. I mean, you got a variety of parlay selection features. You can do same game parlay. You can do individual prop bets on a player that's getting hot, a team that you want to back as an underdog, or, the team that's just got the money line favor going into the game. There's options for you to do that for any sport available over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus, they got the NBA happy hour every Friday night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, when they got exclusive deals on the NBA action coming up for that night and the weekend as well. There's just always something to get in in terms of the action over at FanDuel Sportsbook, and you can do it this basketball season. You can do it baseball season coming up when Major League Baseball starts as well, and of course next football season when everything gets here. You can do it, all that and more, over at FanDuel Sportsbook. So go check it out today. Download the safe, secure, easy-to-use app. Go to FanDuel.com and see what's in store today for you to put a little bit more coin in your pocket, but also make things very interesting without overthinking anything. That's all, and that and more on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and of course at FanDuel.com. Josh Ward Wednesday. Man, there's a lot going on right now. So let's jump down into the topic of today's show, and that is Derek Owings, the new strength and conditioning coach for Tennessee. It's kind of funny, and I don't fault anybody for thinking this. It's kind of the new toy, right? Indiana's the new toy. What is Indiana doing? Even before you won the national championship a couple nights ago, what is Indiana doing? Let's model everything after Indiana. Practice schedules, transfer portal strategy, and all that. Well, this was Indiana's strength coach. So there's an investment made there by Tennessee. Tennessee's kind of going all in this year. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But your thoughts on the new strength and conditioning coach for Tennessee, reportedly the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in the country, and that being Derek Owings.
Yeah, it's difficult to imagine Tennessee doing better with this hire. Like, if Tennessee had been able to hire Tommy Moffitt, I would have a stronger connection with that, with his Tennessee ties, what he's done in the SEC. But at no point did I ever hear Tommy Moffitt was going to leave Texas A&M to go to Tennessee. You have a tie-in with Josh Heupel with Derek Owings. He is a national champion, so you get him the day after his program wins the national title. And you talk about the model of what Indiana has been on the field, the mindset, the toughness, the discipline, what you need to compete at the highest level and to run through a difficult schedule would face. Indiana faced it in the playoff, and they were ready every single game. Well, that's what Tennessee is able to get in terms of that preparation, that plan. And it all still has to come together. It's a very big off season. You still have to have the right fit in terms of the personnel that comes in. But for the hire, I can't come up with a better solution in leading Tennessee's strength and conditioning program than Josh Heupel hiring Derek Owings.
You look at this offseason, and, Josh Heupel fires his longtime strength and conditioning coach, and Kurt Schmidt makes a move there. We just talked about his replacement. Fires Tim Banks after 5 years. A lot of turnover on the defensive side of the football, that staff. And so, Heupel's making some necessary changes, and I believe he knows that next year is a big year for him. On the flip side of that, fans are saying, well, what about quarterback? What about quarterback? What about quarterback? If this is such a big year, are you truly confident in these two young guys? That appears to be the case. Tennessee's quarterback for the transfer portal is a career backup from Colorado in Ryan Staub. Your thoughts on the quarterback and kind of the overall strategy for the quarterback these last few weeks in the portal?
Well, the strategy and the plan to hire a strength and conditioning coach and a defensive coordinator a few weeks ago in Jim Knowles makes a lot more sense than how the quarterback position has played out to this point. It could still work out fine. Tennessee does have talent in the room with George MacIntyre and Faizon Brandon, and then Staub comes in, I think, realistically to add depth and just another person who does have experience in college, played some at Colorado. But it has to be a MacIntyre versus Brandon battle unless something changes. There's the Joey Aguilar case still hanging out there. But right now we have that conversation about MacIntyre versus Faizon Brandon. Obviously, Tennessee was interested in bringing in somebody more established. That's why Sam Levitt was on campus. That's why there was at least talk of Brendan Sorsby, who ends up going to Texas Tech. So I can't sit here and say that MacIntyre versus Brandon is plan A. It might have been a year ago, and then I think they went through the season and said, well, why don't we look and see if we can get somebody more established that we know can be the guy right away and allow more developmental time. Well, now the development has to happen quickly. The competition will take place in the spring and through the summer into August, and they have to get it figured out pretty quickly. But if everything around the quarterback can come together, that helps whoever ends up starting. I think you have to feel good about what Tennessee has at the skill positions around quarterback and the playmaking that will be there. There also has to be development there. Two guys come back at receiver with proven experience in Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews, and then I would throw Ethan Davis into that conversation as well from a pass catcher option. Can other young guys emerge? History says, hey, year two for either Radarius Jackson or Travis Smith Jr., somebody will have a chance to emerge here. So I don't know what to expect out of the quarterback position. I'm not sure Josh Heupel knows what to expect, but something's going to have to be expedited, and they're going to have to get one of those guys ready to lead this group. Part of that will be during what happens over the next few months during off-season work, but that's going to take some time on the practice field and during summer workouts as well.
Yeah, regardless of whoever's playing quarterback for Tennessee next year, if it's a redshirt freshman in George MacIntyre, a true freshman 5-star in Faizon Brandon, or a career backup and Ryan Staub from Colorado, I like the pieces around them, right? The offensive line needs to get better. It had 16 sacks in 4 games there from November on, mid-October on. That's just not good enough, but you bring back 5 guys with starting experience. I like the offensive line. I like the running back field. I like the addition of Gordon to help with Morris and Deshaun Bishop, who was a 1,000-yard rusher. I like the tight end room. I like the wide receiver room. So there's going to be some help, and that's good. But to your point, there still needs to be some progression there. You look at defense, and Tennessee needed to attack all 3 levels. And somebody asked me earlier in the week, where would you say Tennessee kind of upgraded in the portal? And I'm not going to go through the entire list right now, but I got to defense, and pretty much all 3 levels of the defense, I said upgraded. Linebacker is easy. You added a very productive guy that played in Jim Knowles' system, and Amari Campbell. Then, you get Arion Carter back. That's easy. Defensive line, I think the upside of Chaz Coleman is there. I like Jordan Norman a lot. Gilliam in the interior is a big presence. They need to get another guy. And then in the secondary, it's a complete reset, holding on to your most valuable asset, and that being Ty Redmond. I love what they've done on the defense side of the football. Will all these guys hit? No. Certainly some role players here lately in the secondary, but Lane, Metcalf, Moss. I really like a lot of what Tennessee's done on the defensive side of the football. It was needed, and I think it was mission accomplished. You can have questions and concerns about what he did at quarterback, but on the defensive side of the football, I think it was, here's what the mission was, mission accomplished.
Yeah, linebacker has to be better when you just look at player personnel and what they have from 2025 to 2026. I would say the same with the secondary overall. Defensive line, I do wonder, part of that is going to be young development. That freshman class from this past season, what kind of jump do we see heading into their second year? They did a good job of adding some pieces to replace some pieces. So Chaz Coleman comes in and Norman, while Joshua Josephs, Tyree West, Jordan Ross, Caleb Herring leave. That's a lot that had to be replaced, both seniors leaving and the guys that entered the transfer portal, and other guys that have played a lot, like Don Bailey and Bryson Eason and Jackson Moy. So a lot has to be replaced up front, but they do have some young talent that can continue to develop. They have the transfer help, and I think there's confidence in the coaches up front and what they can do to develop. So I can't say that the defensive line is better today. I can say that it has the potential to be as good or better. Like David Hobbs, that's a guy to be really excited about if he can stay healthy. Could be a really high-level player in 2026. That's just more of an unknown to me, but I know the linebacker room is better, and I have to believe the secondary from a personnel standpoint is better. Now let's just see how everything comes together. The experience that some of those Penn State transfers have playing for Jim Knowles and some of the assistants that came along with him, that has to help as well.
Again, a Penn State player at all three levels, 2 on the defensive line, 1 in the defensive backfield, 1 at linebacker. A Penn State coach at all three levels, Andrew Jackson up front. You've got Jim Knowles, who's the DC, but he's a linebackers guy. William Minge is the coach, but he hands-on at linebacker with Amari Campbell. And then, of course, you have Anthony Poindexter in the back end. So, again, that's not everything, but it's certainly something when you're talking about year one of a new defensive scheme. So I think there's something to that.
Yeah, it helps with the transition for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Out the door, Josh, Tennessee basketball. Whew. Saturday was rough. 17 points, lead blown. Horrific turnover in the last 30 seconds. A tic-tac foul in the last minute. A no call underneath the basket on that free throw shot there at the end. But regardless, you blew a 17-point lead. What is next for Tennessee basketball?
That was bad. There's nothing to sugarcoat in that one. Tennessee had a huge lead at home against a rival in a game that was really important for the Volunteers in Kentucky, which in the middle of the first half looked like it just didn't have life to what they were trying to get done on the court. Kentucky came alive late first half and then through the second half, and Tennessee wilted down the stretch. And this was a few days after Tennessee was, I would say, somewhat fortunate to get out of there with a win against Texas A&M. To respond that way, to build a big lead and then let it go and make the mistakes at the end of the game again was really disappointing. And it's not one reason. There are a bunch. The defense wasn't there in the second half where it needed to be. Kentucky knew it could just get by Tennessee's defenders and kept doing it. Kentucky made plays on the glass while Tennessee did not. That's maybe one area where I'm really surprised. A talking point coming out of the Houston win, which feels like forever ago.
Yeah.
But Kelvin Sampson was praising the big men for Tennessee, the men that Tennessee had in the front court, and the difference that could make, and the physicality that Tennessee was able to play with. And that made me think that there was really no way Tennessee would lose the kind of game that it did on Saturday at home against Kentucky, where Tennessee should have been able to control things once it built that lead. And we're going to see how Tennessee responds. What kind of role can Nate Ament play moving forward? Because another concern is, how's Tennessee going to score consistently, and who's going to make shots? There are two guys that I have confidence in their ability to do that. Jacoby Gillespie, who has done it pretty consistently, and then Nate Ament, who has shown flashes. His late stretch against Texas A&M was a positive. But they don't have other guys that I consider and say, let's watch out for that guy. Maybe something happens. Maybe Henderson comes on even more. But I expect inconsistency from a shooting standpoint and scoring standpoint with the rest of Tennessee's guards. If they've got to have Gillespie and Nate Ament lead the way. They were paid to do that. And there's no reason to hide from that part of the conversation. Rick Barnes hasn't even hidden from that part of the conversation. They have Nate Ament for 2 more months. And I know he's a freshman, but he was paid to be a big-time player this year. So it's got to happen immediately.
As Rick Barnes said last year, or was it back in the fall when – oh, yeah, it was whenever they were about to play North Florida, and they said, who do you think Chaz Lanier, who do you think he enjoyed playing more for, you guys or them? And he said, well, we paid him more.
Yeah, right. And last season, I don't recall the exact circumstance, but Rick made a post-game comment of we paid him to take those shots. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have to hide from that conversation. That's the reality of it. Nate Ament's their highest-paid player on the team. He is a projected top 10 pick, projected lottery pick this upcoming summer, and he was brought in to make big plays for Tennessee. So I recognize that he's young and there's time to develop, that's for sure. But at Tennessee, there's only so much time remaining. And it's the sense of urgency has to be there, especially coming out of the loss, especially with a big road game coming up against Alabama. Nobody's going to take it easy on Tennessee.
Josh Ward, Ward Wednesday. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen of the day. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcasting network available. And if you haven't already, go check out that Everydayer Club, access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Vols. You've got an invite to the members-only Locked On Everyday Club Discord server, which includes a group chat for us, the listeners, for this show of Locked On Vols, and other hosts that hang out in there. There's other topics, college football topic, college basketball topic. It's a whole lot of fun. I've gotten in there, really gotten in there, and checked it all out and had some fun the last couple of days. So I encourage you guys to do all that as well. $5 a month tons of perks. Go check it out, and you can do that by going to www.lockedonvols.supercast.com, lockedonvols.supercast.com. All right, just a couple minutes, more than a couple seconds, a couple of minutes left here before we end our show. Great stuff there is Josh Ward from Josh Ward as always, and talking a lot about the new strength coach hire for Tennessee, transfer portal additions, and what could come. I thought we'd end our show by kind of looking ahead to something I love to just sit here and laugh at. It's every day following the national championship. It used to be, at least, and in recent years, including this year, they've started releasing, some publications have started releasing their way too early top 25 for college football even before the national championship is played. But I can't say I blame those publications because, we sit here and it is January the 21st. Yesterday was January the 20th. Fresh off the national championship. Next year, it is going to be a week later. College football is the best thing that this sports world has to offer. Clearly, it is. But it just doesn't help itself out. There's no excuse. There's no excuse ever that a national championship game should be played nearly 2 months after the conclusion of the regular season. But that is where we almost are now, and that's where we will be next year. It's just ridiculous. The fact that the national championship game isn't played on New Year's Day is just horrendous. There's so much dead space in the month of December. Let's get in, let's get out, and let's have fun and keep the momentum rolling. Goodness gracious. Okay. Conversation for another day. Way too early top 25s. ESPN has Tennessee at number 24 in the way too early top 25 for the 2026 season. ESPN has the Hoosiers of Indiana, which is common practice when you win a national championship for these polls. You put them there at number 1. Texas number 2, Notre Dame 3, Georgia 4, Oregon 5. Other SEC teams that are included in those rankings for ESPN is Ole Miss at 9, Texas A&M at 10, Oklahoma at 12, LSU at 15, and Alabama at 21, and of course Tennessee there at number 24. Fox Sports has Tennessee at number 23, while CBS Sports and Yahoo did not have the Vols in their top 25 in those way too early poll. Monday afternoon for On 3, Tennessee checked in at number 20. Ohio State was ranked as the number 1 team in that poll. Georgia 2, Texas 3, Notre Dame 4, Indiana 5. And Tennessee was the 8th highest SEC ranked team in that On 3 poll, coming in behind Georgia at 2, Texas 3, A&M at 8, Oklahoma at 10, LSU at 12, Ole Miss at 15, and Alabama at number 17. So again, it's just kind of something to sit here and laugh about, something to sit here and just kind of make jokes about, because right now, we have a better feel for what the rosters are going to look like, no doubt, than we did a week ago, than we did 2 weeks ago. But we still don't know what spring practice is going to bring. The transfer portal cycle still, it's creeping along. It's opened up now for the teams. The 5-day window is currently ongoing for Indiana and Miami. As of today, we should know officially who's in the transfer portal from every other team not named Miami and Indiana, because the deadline was Friday night at midnight, or I guess at 11:59 p.m. Friday night, and then there was the weekend, and then there was the holiday. So those programs didn't really have to turn in those names officially because they get 48 hours until Wednesday night. It's just kind of crazy how all that works. But Tennessee's still looking for a defensive tackle. Tennessee's still looking for a member of the secondary. We'll see exactly kind of what that looks like, and if Tennessee adds anybody else. Tennessee has 18 commits from this transfer portal cycle we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about. I'm going to do superlatives for this transfer portal class here in the next couple of days. I think that'll be a fun exercise. But we still don't know exactly what this roster is going to look like. Also, who wins these quarterback competitions in spring and in fall camp? There's a lot to be determined before we really get into I'm going to argue this, I'm going to make my case for this team to be in this position in the top 25 rankings, or this team to not be ranked in the top 25 rankings. Again, it is January the 21st. So these things will move. It's something to go on. It's a gauge. And right now, Tennessee has consistently been just outside the top 25, or somewhere around the 23 to 24, or anywhere from 20 to 25, or just missing the cut from the various polls that are out there. Again, CBS Sports Yahoo did not have Tennessee in there. Fox Sports has Tennessee at 23. On3 has Tennessee at 20. You have ESPN having Tennessee at 24. And that's just kind of where we are right now. And I think it makes sense. Tennessee's bringing back a ton on offense. Tennessee added to a running back room that was okay last year, needs to be better. Tennessee's bringing back a lot on the offensive line. They need to take a step, but Tennessee just revamped the secondary, and it needed it because the secondary was bad. Outside of building around Ty Redmond and Idris Farouk, I still think that there's a lot of good football for him. Linebacker room got better, and you lost a lot on the defensive line, no doubt, but I love what you brought in Jordan Norman, and I love Chaz Coleman and kind of what his outlook can be in this defense, certainly having played for Jim Knowles at Penn State in 2025. So just thought I'd bring that to the show. Again, not a whole lot of stuff under the surface here in terms of the top 25 way too early polls, but just something that we can use as reference as we move throughout the offseason. All right, fun show today, talking about Tennessee's new strength and conditioning hire of Derek Owings. And welcome on Josh Ward to talk about a bevy of topics, transfer portal, Tennessee basketball, and, of course, the hire as well. We'll continue to talk about everything happening with Tennessee football as the week goes on. Tennessee football in the transfer portal, some new visitors may be coming into town. Who are they? What do they look like? How many more does Tennessee want to take in the transfer portal? Superlatives from the transfer portal. We'll continue to work through that as the week goes on. Plus, I'm going to talk with some Locked On hosts, going to start making the rounds and trying to talk with players Tennessee got. What do they have to say about them? All that and more coming up the rest of the week right here on Locked On Vols. Join the Everydayer Club, guys, if you don't care. It's ad-free audio feed for Locked On Vols. Invite only to the members Locked On Everyday Discord server as well. You get a link to the merchandise store, $5 a month. Go check it out. That is the Everydayer Club. That's lockedonvols.supercast.com, lockedonvols.supercast.com. We'll be back here on a Thursday show. Until then, have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody.